Hi, my name is Dr. Melissa Carr, and I'm a doctor of traditional Chinese medicine in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. Today I thought I would do the topic of insomnia and things that you can do to help treat yourself when you're at home. So perhaps you suffer regularly from a problem sleeping, or maybe restful sleep right now is elusive to you because of the changed schedules, worry or anxiety, perhaps over issues. Right now, we're in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic. And so I'm personally normally a very good sleeper. And in fact, I used to dislike going to bed. I used to not want to go to sleep because I always felt like I had something more than I could accomplish in my day. So for a while, I actually had to set an alarm to go to bed. I'm also one of those people that annoys others who have a hard time sleeping because I do fall asleep quite easily and quite quickly, typically. But since having to close my clinic, my in-clinic traditional Chinese medicine practice right now, as we're practicing physical distancing, social distancing, and self-isolation, I had started to notice that I was waking up in the middle of the night and sometimes waking up too early in the morning. So thankfully, I have the tools and the knowledge to help me return to a good sleep and help me be able to sleep better through the night. So I thought I would try to share those tips with you. So first I'm going to cover some ideas about acupressure and ear points that you can do. Then I'm going to talk about some lifestyle recommendations and then give some basic ideas on some herbs or supplements that you might be able to take. Now, I have created videos on how to do acupressure, how to use the press needles, and how to do ear seeds. So if you, because I'm not covering that in this video, feel free to check those ones out if you need the extra information on that. Now, in terms of acupressure, Chinese medicine does not have a cookbook or protocol that is standard for everybody with insomnia. So our goal is to find out the diagnosis. What is going on for you that is causing you problems with sleep? So that's why we do the traditional Chinese medicine consultations. If you want one of those, if the tools that I provide you with today are not enough, then feel free to contact me. I am available to do some level of telemedicine online via video or other modalities from a distance. But some of the points that I'm going to recommend to you are some general ones, and you can try them out. So with these acupressure points, you could do acupressure, which is just the application of pressure with usually finger, thumb, in larger body areas. If somebody else is working on somebody, they might use elbows to be able to apply more pressure. But the ones I'm going to show you are fingers, thumbs, maybe use the end of a pen, not the pointy part of a tool, but something with a little bit of area that you can apply some pressure in a specific area. So one of the points here that I'm going to start off with is called yin tongue. So yin tongue is between the eyebrows, center of the forehead. Okay, so this point here is a good point for calming the nervous system. What you can do is apply a little bit of a stroking motion massage on it. You can apply a little bit of pressure on it, steady pressure. You can apply a little bit of circular pressure with it. So that one is called yin tongue. Next one is called Si Shen. So Si Shen is a point that is at the top of your head. I'm going to show you on a diagram here. So top of your head, and it is 4 points. So Si means 4, Shen, spirit. And so the way to find this is you're going to find from the tips of your ears, go up to the top of your head. You're going to go back a little bit as if you're wearing a headband of sorts on the top of your head. You're going to find a spot that when you apply a little pressure straight down, it's a little tender. This is another acupressure or acupuncture point called Do 20 by Hui. So Do 20 is one pressure point that you can apply for calming the nervous system as well. It's also a good point for lifting your energy at the same time as it can calm the nervous system. To the front and back of that, and to either side of it, you have the Si Shen points. So those ones are points just to the front, back, and sides. You might be able to feel a little tender around there. It's almost as if you had a little crown on your head. Another point is called anmian. So anmian is a point for, I have a chart for it here as well. So I don't know if you can see that very well, but anmian, it's marked there with a little dot, an arrow and a dot next to it. So that point is, that one is a good one for sleep as well. So it's a little tricky for me to show on myself, but you're going to feel there's a point called gallbladder 20 that is at the base of the skull, so right at the top of the neck, just underneath the ridge of the skull. You're going to find there's a little spot between the muscles. You'll often apply, if you've got neck pain, headaches, back of the head headaches, they're called occipital headaches, you might find yourself massaging into that little divot at the back of your head there. So that one's gallbladder 20. And then you're going to find another point called triple warmer or Sanjiao 17. That is if you take your earlobe and you go right behind your earlobe. Okay, so the halfway point between those two is called anmian. So it's kind of on top of the muscle, the sternocleidomastoid SCM muscle there. It's right at the base of the skull. There is a little bit of a divot there as well. So the real key to this one's called anmian. You can look it up online if you're unable to find it from my description. But that one is a good one for sleep. If you're unclear if you've got the right point, you can also feel for the spot. It's often a little bit tender when you apply a little bit of pressure to it. Any of these points that have ones on, so in this case, it is bilateral, you have it equal on both sides, you can do the same thing on the other side as well. Another point that you can apply is called heart 7. I actually have the press needle on, I'm going to put that one here on heart 7. So heart 7 is at the wrist. There we go. Okay, so it's on the wrist, at the wrist crease. This one, heart 7, is also, its Chinese name is Shenmen, and that is for its spirit gate. It's a good one to calm the nervous system. If you have a lot of anxiety, if you feel heart palpitations, racing heart, that is a good point to apply. Okay, so heart 7 is another one. Another one that you could choose is, for this one, I'm not going to put my foot up on the table here, kidney 1. Okay, so kidney 1 is at the sole of the foot. And you'll see, so basically I'll try to show it with my hand. Imagine that my hand is my foot and we're going to ignore my thumb. So just ignore my thumb. And then imagine that this is my big toe here. So we've got, on the sole of the foot, we've got this similar sort of setup here. Like you can feel the pads. This would be the ball of the foot. You can feel the pads of the ball of the foot. And you're going to go into a point where there's a little bit of a, again, when you apply pressure, you're going to find it's a little tender there. That is kidney 1. So you can apply just direct pressure with that one. You can use a golf ball or a small ball and roll it on that point. If it's hard for you to reach the sole of your foot, that's another way to do it. And another way to do it, if you can reach the sole of your foot, is you rub your hands together, get them nice and warm. And then the technique is that you apply the center of the palm of your hand to that kidney 1 point. You're going to warm up that point with just applying. You might sit, cross your one foot over your other knee, and then put your warmed up hand on that spot on your foot. So kidney 1 is a really good one for helping particularly feel grounded, and it's a good acupressure point. Kidney 3 is another point that is at the ankle, and so kidney 3, you can see it in the chart there. And while you're looking at that, you can also see kidney 6. So kidney 3 is behind the ankle bone on the inside of your leg. On the inside of your leg, behind the ankle bone, in front of the Achilles tendon. You can actually squeeze the tendon on either side. You're going to get kidney 3 and the point on the other side, which is the bladder channel point. So just squeezing the tendons together. And then kidney 6 is below the ankle bone. So kidney 3 is a good one for adrenal burnout, adrenal fatigue, causing insomnia. Kidney 6 below the ankle bone there. So you're going to go to the tip of the ankle bone on the inside of your foot, on the inside of your ankle, and you're going to go to a spot that's just below the tip of the ankle bone. And that one is particularly good if you also have night flash or night sweats, if you feel very warm at night. Stomach 36 is a good point. This is a really common point for us to recommend for many reasons, but it is on the lower leg, and I'll show that point here. Okay, so stomach 36 is on the outside of the lower leg. We say the lateral side of the lower leg, and you're going to find a little divot if in a bent knee. So if you're sitting with your, if you're in seated position, you've got your leg bent at 90 degrees, you can find this little divot on your lateral side, on the outside of your knee, just below the kneecap. Okay, and you're going to do a measurement of what we call 3-tun. And so in my Acupressure demonstration, 3-tun I showed you is this distance. So you're going to measure out 3-tun below the, we say the eye of the knee on the outside of the leg, lower leg, and feel down. And again, you'll find that point is a little tender. That's particularly good. Sometimes you get so exhausted that you actually don't have enough energy to be able to fall asleep. That would be an example of when this could be useful. It has many uses, this particular point, stomach 36. You kind of can't go wrong easily with it. So those are some acupressure points that you can apply, and if you have press needles, you can alternatively put a press needle, as I did here with Heart 7. So those little press needles are tiny little needles that you can apply, and they don't hurt. There's no problem with them. Wearing them, I can toss them in the garbage afterwards because they're less than 1 millimeter long, so they don't go past the skin layer. You might also, if you've got insomnia, if you're having problems sleeping, you might use ear seeds. So in this case, for example, I've got Shenmen is an ear acupuncture point that can also, I'm using a crystal ear seed in this case, but the point is right here. So if you have insomnia and you have access to ear seeds, you can ask your TCM or me for some ear seeds. You can apply this little seed that's going to apply a little bit of pressure to that point for calming the nervous system. There's another point at the front here. So again, the ear here, adrenal point. So maybe that could be another one. There's the endocrine down through here as well. Or if pain is causing you problems with sleeping. So for example, you've got a lot of hip pain. You might actually apply the press seed on the hip pain one, on the hip location as found on the chart of the ear, and that might help to relieve your pain enough in that area so that you can have a good restful sleep. And then another tip, it's an acupressure point, but kind of more of a general breathing technique, is we would call it breathing into the dantian. So the dantian is a center of energy below your belly button. And so what you can do with that is just put your hands on below your belly button, put your hands on there, okay? And then you're just going to breathe in deeply all the way down to, so you're basically belly breathing. You're going to be expanding your lungs further, your belly breathing into that area so that your belly is expanding and lifting out. And then you're going to breathe, when you breathe out, you're going to let all of the air out as much as you can. The breath work is done through the nose. You're breathing in through the nose as into the belly, holding it at that point, and then you're breathing out everything. And then you're doing your breath nice and slow. If you would like that exercise sent to you, I'm happy to do that. You can also find that easily online. It's breathing into the dantian. In terms of supplements and things that you can take, so there are a number of supplements. I like a formula called Sleep Time Formula by Botanica. And what I like about it is that it's a tincture format. So it is a mix of herbs. So these are Western herbs. There's valerian, passion flower, skullcap, and hops, and a couple of other herbs in there, California poppy, I believe, as well. And so this one, because it's a tincture formula, for example, I tell my patients, if you wake up in the middle of the night and it's 3 o'clock in the morning and you're like, why am I awake now? And you want to get back to sleep, you can do a smaller amount. If you keep the tincture at your nightside table, you can have a smaller amount in the middle of the night. It is made to help you with the initial falling asleep, as well as what we call sleep latency or staying asleep. So that's something that you could try as an herbal remedy. A lot of people take melatonin. Melatonin can be a good remedy as well. There are a few different formats for it. You might find it in sublingual format, which means you dissolve it into your tongue, so it's faster acting if you have a hard time falling asleep. You might get it in a time release format, which means that it'll take longer for its release, which should help with staying asleep. So if you have more problems with staying asleep, no problem with falling asleep, that might be a good option for you, or a regular format. I don't generally recommend people take melatonin ongoing permanently. It is a hormone that your body produces, but we do tend to produce less of it as we age. So an older adult might benefit from taking melatonin. And another time that I'll often recommend it is when people are traveling. So because you're messing with the circadian rhythms, your natural body clock rhythms, it's a good way to help with balancing that. And then there are also Chinese herbal formulas. Now, I always remind my patients that there is no one formula for everybody. There is no sleep formula that is right for all. It does depend on your Chinese medicine diagnosis. So we diagnose what's going on for you and then prescribe a formula based off of that. There are some common ones that are kind of known as the sleep formulas. So Swanzhao Rentong, the Ziziphus formula, Swanzhao Rentong is one of them. Tianwan Buxingdang is another one. I don't have that one here. That one is another one that is commonly used. It depends on your own situation as to what is right for you for that. And then some of the formulas that aren't classically meant as sleep formulas might be used. Zhibai Di Huangwan is another one. So if somebody has sleep problems and night sweats, that might be a suitable formula. And Xiaoyao San is a very common formula as well. It's more like if you have a lot of frustrations, irritabilities, and maybe some hormonal imbalances or digestive issues, that might be a correct formula for you. So some basic ideas about Chinese herbal formulas. I do also, lifestyle-wise in general, I do generally recommend, I know that a lot of us right now have disrupted sleep schedules. We may not be waking and going to sleep at the same time as if we had a regular work day, as if the kids had a regular school day. So your schedule may be interrupted or different. I do recommend keeping a regular schedule regardless as best as you can. It helps you to be able to fall asleep and maintain a good restful sleep. I also recommend not watching the late night news. It's too stimulating. Try to get your news earlier in the day. Try not to wind down with social media. That also winds up our brains too. And I think in general a good rule is to limit your social media throughout your day anyways. I have a personal social media limit of 30 minutes per day. That may or may not work for you, but that is mine. And it is, speaking of social media, it is a good idea to shut off all backlit screens at least an hour before bed, but there's evidence that it can disrupt your circadian rhythms by suppressing your melatonin production, your natural melatonin production, for up to 3 hours after you're using a backlit screen. And backlit screens include your TV, your computer, your tablets, your cell phones. So that suppresses, it has a blue light that suppresses the melatonin that your body produces. Things you can do, so obviously shut it off earlier in the day. There are also special glasses that you can get. They're orange or yellow tinted that can help block some of the blue light. You can also put the setting on your backlit devices so that they They will have a night mode so that they decrease the amount of blue light that enters your eyes. The TV, not so much, because it would, it is going to adjust the shades of the colors. And so if you're watching a movie on your computer, for example, and you put this screen on, you'll find the color will look different. So it is a good idea generally to shut off the devices at least an hour before bedtime. I also recommend keeping your phones out of your bedroom. They are too disruptive, and it's too likely that if you wake up in the middle of the night that you might find yourself browsing through apps on your phone, playing a game, that kind of thing. Again, you're not helping yourself with your returning back to sleep. Creating a wind down routine is another good idea. Many people think of when they're putting their kids to bed or think of when they were kids and it was time for bed. Usually there is some sort of wind down routine. It doesn't work very well generally for most kids if you have them all riled up and you're playing with them. They're playing video games, or they're entertained with their friends and or you, and then you say, okay, time for bed now, let's go. So it is a good idea to have a wind down routine even as adults, and that might be slowing down what we do through the evening, breath work, reading from a book, or in the case of not wanting a backlit screen, if you're reading on something digital, it would be a device that doesn't have that, like a Kindle or a Kobo, that does not have the backlight on it. And then setup of your bedroom, there's lots of advice online you can find for that it needs to be dark enough, it needs to be the right temperature, and quiet enough. And then one more thing is the obvious: try to limit your caffeine. Some of you are more sensitive than others. I know I tend to be sensitive to caffeine. Some people can have a cup of coffee and go straight to bed, but limiting your caffeine before you go to bed, and having your fluids earlier part of your day, not trying to get most of your liquids in before you go to bed so that you don't have to wake so many times in the night to urinate, is another thing to consider. That's a lot of things, a lot of ideas on ways that you can improve your sleep. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know. Again, my name is Dr. Melissa Carr. I am a doctor of traditional Chinese medicine in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. If you're wanting to find out how you can get some tools for helping with your sleep, feel free to reach out. My website as well is activetcm.com. Thank you very much.